Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Industry Insights. We're on day 5 of National Apprenticeship Week, and it's been a busy week. Lots of amazing information shared and advice given over the past week. Today, we will be putting a spotlight on public services and the different career routes into these organisations. My name is Amanda Thompson, and I'm the MD of Campus Media. And today I'm joined by Health Education England, Routes into Rail and Waits Construction. Before we move over to our introductions, I would also like to remind you that there is a live chat box just underneath the viewing window where you're seeing now. Please pop your name in. It doesn't have to be your personal name. You could use your school name so that you can start to pop your questions in there. And please do put your questions in, don't be shy. We want to get as many of them answered as possible today. So I'm going to move straight into our employer introductions now with Lucy from Health Education England.
Thank you. Hello everybody. I am Lucy Hunt, National Programme Manager for Apprenticeships at Health Education England. We are essentially the training and development arm of the NHS. I'm part of the Talent for Care team, so we really work looking at work experience, traineeships, T-levels and apprenticeships to encourage young people into the NHS. And here's a short video showing what we do.
Apprenticeships are vital to the NHS. Here's our story.
I never thought that I'd be first on scene to an emergency.
I never thought I'd be working with world-class surgeons.
I never thought I'd be in a job that I'd be well suited, not only to myself, but also be helpful to other people.
I never thought that I'd have to repair equipment during an operation.
I never thought that as an apprentice, a patient would turn around to me at the end of treatment and say, I've just made his day.
I never thought I'd be in the same room as someone taking their last few breaths.
I never thought I'd be helping patients with their morning wash.
I never thought I'd be revalidating trainee doctors.
It's very rare that you get a job that you come in every day and think, oh, I can't wait to see what's happening today.
You're with a group of people, especially in this apprenticeship, who become your family. You learn on the job and you get the best training because you're with people who are fully qualified.
Some people live on their own. It's their only journey they get out each day, so they enjoy it. They're happy to see us even though they're going to hospital.
A lot of people struggle to see how people in an office like myself can make a difference to the patients out there. Sometimes it is a bit far removed, but it's really important to remember that everything we do relates directly back to the patient and patient care.
I did it.
I did it.
I did it.
I did it.
We did it.
I think one of the first tasks that you're going to be given as a nursing assistant is the morning washes. And for me, like a young lad, I'd never thought I'd be doing that, but I think I do it well.
Well, it kind of feels nice that they're actually helping people out there, even if you're not meeting them.
You can do it too.
So can you.
You can do it too.
So can you.
I think the apprenticeship's been the best route for me because I've learned, worked and developed as a person as well as a dental nurse.
These are just a few of the stories of the NHS in the North East, and they all started with an apprenticeship.
That's a wrap.
Good afternoon, I'm Michelle Russell. I'm Head of Workforce Analytics at the National Skills Academy for Rail. Today I'm representing Routes into Rail, which is a platform which promotes careers in the sector and gives you lots of information about how you can find out about all the different things that are on offer and how you get into them. And here's a short video to explain a bit more.
A career in rail means much more than high-vis jackets and checking tickets. At Routes into Rail, discover hundreds of exciting roles in a sector that never stops moving. It's an industry full of innovative designers and engineers, software developers and data analysts, marketeers and commercial professionals. Working around the world, they're taking on the challenge of transforming transport systems, making them smarter, faster, and better for the environment. Want to join them? There's a career for everyone. And if you've got the skills, passion, and potential, we've got roles ready and waiting. Supported by industry leaders, Routes into Rail is a brand new platform packed with all the information you need to embark on your career path. From building trains to building relationships, watch insider videos to learn what a life in rail can look like, and search for the latest opportunities to get your career on the right track. Visit routesintorail.org to find out more. Think differently, think smarter, think rail.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Kauza Abdi and I work for Waits Construction. I'm here today to try and explain to everyone more about construction and Waits and how you can get into all the different avenues that we have within construction. And I look forward to speaking for the rest of the day.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for those introductions. This is just 3 areas within public services that we're representing today, really. But public service sector is huge. And just to put more of a magnifying glass on it, actually, the roles within each one of the organisations here today is vast as well. So although we've got healthcare represented and transport represented and construction represented, just like the rest of this week, we've had technology featured, finance featured, all of those different roles within different divisions of each organisation still apply through school leaver routes as well. And so I'm going to go straight back to Kauza actually to find out more about the different roles that you have available at Waits.
Okay, so at Waits, we're very lucky to have a number of different opportunities for young people, starting from nursery, junior, all the way up to graduates. So we have engagement in school that we do that usually consists of supporting young people to understand construction from a very young age. We also have work experience. We have a summer program for young people. We've also got the new T-levels. And we also do traineeships, apprenticeships. So there's a vast amount of opportunities within Waits or the construction industry.
And so on that, so you mentioned quite a few things there. T-levels, that's something we've not touched on this week at all. What are T-levels?
So T-levels are an equivalent to 3 A-levels. They're very similar to apprenticeships in the sense that young people have the opportunity to actually work in a construction site or the industry, have actual experience working within it, and also they spend 4 days of the week in education, so learning about the role, learning about health and safety and all the different elements of their role. So it's a really good way of understanding the industry, getting to have more hands-on experience and also getting a qualification while they're at it.
So straight from GCSE level. Mm-hmm. And did you say level 2 apprenticeship, or was it?
So yeah, so we do level 2 and level 3 apprenticeships. So we do apprenticeships for young people with not a degree, or you can have a degree. So if you have a degree, we can also support you in getting a construction-related degree. So Waits will actually pay for your degree. And we also support young people into apprenticeships who don't have degrees. So if you have 2 A-levels, again, you can join the level 2 programme.
Excellent. And we were talking earlier about work experience. Work experience can be really quite tricky to get onto. Some schools can support you in finding a work experience programme, but many do leave it up to the individual to source their own work experience programmes. And we heard yesterday actually from one of our apprentices on the panel how invaluable the work experience that she got, just 2 weeks, was in terms of giving her a real idea of where she wanted to take her career and the catalyst for her passion as well. So what work experience opportunities do you offer at Waits?
So at Waits, we definitely encourage young people to apply themselves. It's a great way of them seeing the whole process and how to apply for work, essentially. We have a dedicated email that young people can actually refer themselves to. So it's workexperience@waits.co.uk. And essentially, we give young people the opportunity to try out different routes in construction. So you can you can do work experience in the finance team, you can do it in the accounts team, you can actually do it on site as well, depending on age. But we encourage young people from 15 onwards to apply for work experience. This could be done during the summer, during the holidays. 2 weeks is unpaid, and more than 2 weeks is paid. So that's the good thing about that as well.
That's amazing. So there's actually an email address that you can reach out to a person to find out more about it. That's brilliant, thank you. And moving on to the rail industry then, so you're representing NSAR and Routes into Rail as well. And Routes into Rail is the early careers side of NSAR. And what, obviously we think rail and we think repairing track. So tell us, how vast is the rail industry?
Yeah, there are many opportunities, but if you say to rail, you're quite right. You think train driver, you think ticket collector, or you think somebody repairing the track. And those are jobs that only certain types of people want to do. But actually, if you think of any job that's been mentioned already this week, you can actually do that in the rail sector, whether it's in finance, whether it's an account manager, whether it's customer service, whether it is actually driving the train or repairing the tracks. There are so many roles that you can find out about on the Routes into Rail website.
Excellent. And moving on to the NHS, who is the largest employer in the UK, it's not just nurses and doctors. What is the scope of different programmes that somebody could join the NHS?
So there are 350 different job roles available in the NHS. Obviously, clinical is a huge part of that, but we have huge back office functions. So if you're interested in cybersecurity, IT, digital, data, finance, childcare, we even have gardeners, estates and facilities. There's a huge range. And so guaranteed, if there's something you're interested in, there'll be a career in the NHS for you.
And with so many different programmes, how does somebody go about knowing where to start looking for them?
So we've got some fantastic resources on our Health Careers website, a few quizzes for young people, and it can match what subjects you like at school and identify some possible career routes for you. So we know as a young person it's really difficult to make that decision, so you don't want to exclude or limit your choices by some of your GCSE choices. So do have a look at the Health Careers website, have a look at the various different quizzes that you can do, and it'll give you some inspiration, hopefully.
And with so many different programmes to join, is there a central hub where they're all listed?
No. Most vacancies will be advertised on NHS Jobs, but that will be at trust level. And then obviously you need to think about all of our primary care employers, which are the GP practices and pharmacies. So yeah, NHS Jobs is probably the main site, but yeah, they're literally at trust level rather than kind of, one NHS.
There is more information about all of our employers in the Careers Resources Pack, and there's a really useful careers link for each one of them as well. And the careers link that we have for NHS England is a great place to start. So you will be able to find different programmes and information about that on there. So I'm going to go straight into our first question. So we've got one in from Alexandra Park High School. I haven't heard of Waits. What kind of opportunities do you offer? And you did just touch briefly on the different opportunities, but Waits is a construction company. But what do you build?
So at Waits, we essentially build schools. There's a lot of schools that we build. We're currently building a lot of schools. We also build prisons. We're currently working on the House of Commons, fixing the front element of that of the building. It's very vast, to be fair. We do a lot of building, and we're also national, so we're all around England and Wales. So yeah, you should see a lot of the vans driving around as well, big Waits vans.
I've definitely seen the vans driving around. And in terms of the roles, you did touch on it earlier. It's not all about wearing hard hats and being on a construction site. There are the general office functions as well. And can you do an apprenticeship within all of those functions?
Definitely. So we have trade apprenticeships, and those are working on the trade, so that can be decorating, building, etc. And we also have the business admin element. So again, working with HR, working in accounts, working in design. So all these different functions are available within the business, just like with the NHS and the rail line. We have normal business functions that we also recruit for.
Great. We did anticipate the question coming in, and there is a general myth about public service careers being low paid. So that somebody wants to know if the public sector as a whole offers poor pay. I'll start with the NHS.
Yeah, so it is obviously a very hot topic at the moment, but I can honestly say that, you know, the pay, salaries and scales obviously depends on the different roles. But for our entry-level roles, the starting salary is 18 to 22,000 and can go up to kind of mid-40s, 50s once you're a registered professional. So, yeah, that's definitely a myth.
Great. And what about routes into rail?
So again, it really depends on the entry level of the role that you're coming in. So a level 2 apprenticeship role will obviously be paid lower than a level 6 because that depends on the qualifications as well. And equally, there's a little bit of variation depending on the company that you're working for within the rail sector. So I'm not going to give a figure, but it's up to you to go and find out. But I think the sector is reasonably well paid.
Great. And Kawsa?
Yeah, I think essentially within construction, the pay rates are very competitive. So the pay rates are quite good, actually. And again, I would maybe suggest that you go back on the website and have a look. But yeah, very well paid.
Great. A specific NHS question as well, career progression. You're doing your level 7 apprenticeship now as well. But so talk me through then from somebody starting on a level 2 apprenticeship. What is their scope of career progression from there?
So, kind of with World Your Oyster, we do apprenticeships now from level 2 up to level 7, and you can do your degree apprenticeship, so you can become a nurse, a paramedic, but you can also become a chartered manager. And we obviously use this to attract new talent into the NHS, but also to progress the existing workforce, so you can really do it at any age. I'm 48, I'm doing my level 7 apprenticeship, so I definitely practice what I preach, but yeah, there's no blockers. And even with the level 2s, if you haven't got great maths and English, you get the opportunity to retake that and do your functional skills. So don't kind of exit yourself from the application process, because we can give you the knowledge and skills if you come with the right attitude.
And I think people stay years within the NHS as well. And actually on that, so how do your organisations really attract young early talent into them? Because there is a myth that the construction industry is all men wearing hard hats as well. How do you go about dispelling that myth?
I think with Waits, we're very passionate about educating young people about construction and the roles in constructions, and we do that at a very young age. So we have books designed for young people as early as 4. We also have like a construction workbook that young people can work through in year 6. We go into schools, we do school engagement, we run summer programs, we do a number of projects for young people to get engaged and to learn about the career opportunities. But also, I'm a female, I work in construction, and again, my department that I work for, there's 24 of us, 22 are female. So again, it shows you that women are in construction. It doesn't matter what your ethnic background is, what your gender is. Everyone is welcomed into construction. Everyone has a role to play in construction.
And Michelle, would you say that that's similar for you?
Yeah, I think it is a big myth that it's very male-dominated in the rail industry. It is improving. We're currently at 15% female, so very much encouraging females to apply. Recent things that have happened are the improvement of facilities on site to make sure that they are accessible for anybody that wants to join the sector. And with the fact that we've got I think it's around 50,000 people due to retire in the next 10 years, means there are ample opportunities for new ideas, those innovative thoughts to come into the sector. And as if you have a look at the website, there are many, many opportunities that you can come and be a part of making a difference for the future.
Wonderful. It's so important to have lots of different role models as well, and we've had some fabulous speakers, apprentices and recruiters and careers advisors this week that are all trying so hard to dispel gender myths especially as well. And I'm going to come back to you, Lucy, actually. So we've got another question in, but it's good for everybody. So how competitive are your apprenticeships to get onto, and what is the support that you offer your young people joining?
So, really good question. I think what you need to remember about an apprenticeship is you're actually applying for a job. So, very different to kind of applying to university where you can do your UCAS and apply to 5 at once. So, they are competitive, but, you know, there's lots of hints and tips on how to apply. There's lots of kind of practice sessions that you can do on the Health Careers website. And I think the key is just kind of to tailor each application to the role that you're applying for. We're looking for, you know, the right attitude, the right kind of motivation, and we will teach you the skills and knowledge. So, yeah, we're not looking for you to come as the full package. The whole point of the apprenticeships is to train you and mould you into our future workforce.
Brilliant. And did you mention as well that your level 2 apprenticeships help support young people to resit their English and maths? Have we covered?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of kind of myths around apprenticeships, and certainly one of those is that it's for those that are not academic, but certainly the lower level, the level 2, level 3s, you do get the opportunity to retake your maths and English if you need to. And for some people, you know, staying in school or college, just retaking GCSEs is not going to be for them. So the apprenticeship is a great way to do that and get that on-the-job experience.
But that said, and I'm going to echo what we've said all this week, is especially sponsored degree apprenticeships, they're not an easy route. Lots of people have this misconception that actually an apprenticeship route is for people who are less academic and therefore can't go to university because it's not for them, is absolutely incorrect. And a sponsored degree apprenticeship is challenging. It's really challenging, and to be able to succeed, you have to be able to have that strong academia as well, because you're studying at the same time as doing a job and putting all of that practical learning into practice as well as the academic learning. But you mentioned that you've just released a brand new apprenticeship programme. Could you tell us more about that?
Yeah, really excited that we've launched the medical doctor apprenticeship. So we're really hoping that it's going to help increase the diversity of the workforce. Currently, I think it's 70% of consultants in the NHS have a parent that's a consultant. So this apprenticeship is going to help us, you know, for young people that have got the academic ability but couldn't necessarily afford to be unpaid for 7 years. They'll now be able to train via an apprenticeship to become a doctor, which is a huge game changer for widening participation.
It's incredible. And Kawsat, I'm going to come back to you because you offer the T-levels and so many opportunities for work experience as well. What would you advise if somebody said, is there anything additional that I can learn to improve my skills, to make myself stand out on my CV or my application? What's your advice on that?
I think for young people, it's to think about what they're passionate about. Myself personally, I joined Waits because I know that they have they're very social aware with regards to the environment. So being very passionate and also getting advice, doing work experience, understanding the industry and really honing into what skills you want to learn or where you want to be in the future. I think that's very important. I think with Waits as well, we do something quite amazing called virtual work experience, where young people can actually join in and get advice on CV writing, how to do interviews, how to come across to employers. So again, just doing a little bit of background information and getting yourself really prepared for interview or to apply, I think is a great start.
That's fabulous. So actually, on the Careers Resources Pack that supports this video, there's also the Instagram links for each of our three employers here today. Definitely check those out because there's lots of days in the life videos on there. There's lots of useful content such as CV writing and practice interview tips and things like that. So the NHS then offer advice on applications. Is this something that Roots into Rail support, and how do you support your new starters?
Yeah, I think that's a very valid question. So the wraparound support is there for new apprentices. There's the pastoral support, and most importantly, it's the professional networks. So for certainly youngsters that are joining as perhaps their first career move, there's something called Young Rail Professionals. which looks after new entrants to the profession and introduces them to perhaps some older people who then might become mentors across the sector. The sector is very keen on ensuring those people that with knowledge and experience do look after those new entrants and those that are young and new to the sector. So it's about that pastoral support, it's about that networking opportunity to provide that welcoming nature to the sector.
Brilliant. And we've had a question in, is a job within public services typically more stressful? I'll start with you, Lucy.
I wouldn't say so, no. I mean, obviously it depends on the role. So obviously I think, yeah, if you're a paramedic or a nurse on the front line, that's a lot more stressful. But I would say an IT or finance role, then that's going to be no more stressful in the public sector than it would anywhere else.
Yeah, I would be inclined to agree. I think that, every job has expectations, every role has certain deadlines, particularly if you're working in project-based work. So again, depending on the nature of the role, the organisation you're working in, I don't think it's any more stressful being in the public sector than it is being in the private sector.
And
I think I agree. Same as the above. I don't find my role any more stressful than any other role that I've worked in, to be fair. I think it's just about planning, preparing. There are times where you have deadlines, but again, that happens even in school. So it's just learning to adapt, I guess.
Absolutely. And with support that you all clearly offer, your early talent, they can talk about it. Mm-hmm. So if you're struggling with something, you will have mentors who are there to help you and support you. It's not, this is your job now, you're dropped right in at the deep end. You are learning as you earn as well. I've got a big location question now. And actually, you're all brilliant for location because you're all over the UK. But somebody specifically wants to know for Waits, do you locally recruit young people for local projects?
Yes. So currently we have 49 apprenticeships live, and they are based around England and Wales. So you can apply locally, or you can apply for positions in London if you're based in London, Manchester, Birmingham. So yeah, we're basically everywhere. So we have trade ones, and we have trade apprenticeships, and we have business apprenticeships.
Great. And the rail runs from one side of the country to the other. So could somebody choose where they want to do their apprenticeship and choose where they want to be based?
Yeah, I think with the Network Rail programme is probably the broadest and covers the whole of the UK, so there's more choice there. For other apprenticeships, they're more localised because rail is certainly driving its ambition to become more representative of the communities it serves. So local recruitment is key to achieving that ambition.
And I know with the NHS that you have locations absolutely everywhere. So I'm going to tweak it slightly. On the sponsored degree programmes, where are the apprentices located?
Still all over the country. Obviously that programme is more bound by where the university is situated because they will still be attending university. But yeah, we work in all the major cities across the country and we'll offer the degree apprenticeships in those.
Great. And do you know what university that you run your apprenticeship through, your degree apprenticeship?
I think there's at least over 100 at the moment, so yeah.
Wow, there we go. And there's about 160 universities. So you got that covered as well. Yeah. And for the rest of you, actually, for the sponsored degree apprenticeships, do you work specifically with a university or is there a number of unis?
I think for rail, it depends on where the company is located and it depends on the programme, so they find the most appropriate provider to deliver that programme. So in some cases it might be a day release at university or college, in other cases it might be block release, but again that's dependent on the course and you can explore those options before you commit yourself to any of those programmes.
Yeah, and I think similar with us, it depends where you're based, and it will probably be the local university to your area. So, yeah.
Great. And for your apprentices who are 18 plus, who maybe are looking for a little bit more independence and to move away from home, what support network is there within your organisations that brings your young starters on to give them that buddy system and that social support?
So in the NHS, we fund membership to the Association of Apprentices, so that will link them in with apprentices across the country doing similar programmes, and we found that that kind of pastoral peer-to-peer support has been really successful. But they'll also be allocated kind of a workplace mentor from their training provider. They'll also have kind of a job skills coach as well, so they're definitely going to be supported throughout their whole programme.
Brilliant.
I think the apprenticeship programmes are quite similar in their setup, that there is that apprenticeship skills coordinator or coach from the university or college, and it is important that there is a workplace mentor as well.
And I think similar with us is exactly the same. You have a mentor, you have a support system in place. Within Waits, you also have the EAP system. There's other...
what is that?
So that's basically... it's like
employee assistance program.
Yeah, so if you do need extra support, whether it's for mental health, well-being, etc., there's also support there. So there's always support.
Wonderful, that's really great. And we were chatting about it earlier, but what do you wear to work?
In the NHS, I think it's obviously really going to depend on your role. A lot of the clinical roles, you'll have a uniform. A lot of the trade hands-on role, you'll probably have an overall, or you won't want to wear your best clothes because you might get dirty. And then again, the office functions, it really varies. We're not so corporate anymore since the pandemic. We have kind of dress down Fridays. A lot of people are still working from home, so what they wear on the top half might not be reflective of what they've got on the bottom half. So yeah, I think, you know, but that's definitely something that we would let you know in your kind of recruitment phase, so you can be prepared.
Yeah, and from the rail sector, there's an obvious element of personal protective equipment required, so that will be supplied by your employer, and that again depends on your role. Obviously, you don't need that PPE equipment in an office environment. That's more business dress, so similar to the type of attire that we're all wearing here today would be fine in an office environment. But again, employers will define their dress codes, and that'll all be discussed with you at the recruitment phase.
Yeah, and I think similarly with the rail line, in construction, if you're working on the trades, then obviously you wear the PPE, so the hard hat, the vest, sturdy shoes, etc. And office-based, again, what we're wearing today is very sufficient.
Great. And let's talk about application. So it would be great to just get an understanding of what the application process is like for each of your organisations. We've heard quite a scale this week, from gamification, aptitude tests and psychometric tests and numerical tests and things like that. And then assessment centres, interviews. So on that, what do you wear? And also, if we could combine that in with what the application process is and your advice on how somebody should best present themselves during that process.
I think essentially it's putting your best foot forward, isn't it? So dressing accordingly. So again, like normal business attire is suitable. Arriving on time, having some background information on the organisation or the role. So currently, as I said, at Waits, we've got 49 active apprenticeship roles that we're currently recruiting for. But again, I think my advice to young people would be to apply as soon as you see the vacancy. A lot of the times, the vacancy closing dates do change depending on how many applicants that we have. So if you see a role that you're interested in, apply straight away. And again, just ensuring that you are aware of the process. So read all your emails, read all the information. So with the apprenticeships, what we offer is an interview stage. So you get interviewed, and then you either pass or you fail, and then you start the apprenticeship. With our trainee programs, we have the assessment centre. So the initial process is application, and then you would do an online video recording of yourself as a first interview. And then the second interview is the assessment centre, whereby you would come in, you would do a group activity, you would then do an individual assessment or an activity, and then you would have a direct interview with your line manager. And then again, it depends if you get the role or not.
Great. And what's the application process for Roots into Rail? And are you open now for applications?
Yeah, I think it's always worth checking out the Routes into Rail website and the train operating companies that might run the lines near you. So if you're in the southeast of England, you've got Southern and Southeastern. In the northern regions, you've got TransPennine Express that's undergoing an expansion, so there's always opportunities creeping in there. Merseyrail, Northern Trains, etc. And then there's the big programme of Network Rail, and in London, obviously TfL. In terms of are there applications open at the moment, I don't actually know off the top of my head, but in terms of the application process, we do have things like assessment centres. It does depend on the role as to whether you have to do psychometric testing or not. That's certainly, if you want to be a train driver, you have to undergo that level of testing, but generally it will be similar to what's been mentioned before. You write your letter of application, submit your CV, and then you'll either be called for interview or given some feedback on what to do better next time.
That's great. Lucy?
So in the NHS, we don't use CVs. It will be online applications. And my advice would be to kind of think about your transferable skills. So for a young person, we're not going to be expecting extensive work experience. But if you've been a captain of the football or netball team, you can talk about your leadership experience. If you've been a carer, you can talk about things like that. So just really kind of, it's your opportunity to sell yourself and talk about what kind of passion you can bring to the role. So, you know, if you come with the right attitude, we will definitely give you the skills. In terms of vacancies, the beauty of apprenticeships is they're not bound by the academic year, so we will have monthly vacancies. And I would suggest young people just sign up to the .gov Find an Apprenticeship website, because then you can set up your alerts, so you get text or emails, and it'll just show you the range of opportunities that are available in your area.
That's a really great call on the apprenticeship website as well. I want to hone in on assessment centres, because obviously everybody watching at home are used to being in a classroom, and just the word assessment centre sounds pretty scary, doesn't it? What goes on in an assessment centre?
I went to a really good one the other day, and it was looking for people's kind of team working skills, and they had a piece of IKEA furniture and they put it in the middle of the floor with no instructions, and then we just kind of watched the group and how they worked together and if anyone took the lead. So yeah, it can be scary if it's out of your comfort zone, but I thought that was a really great example, and all the young people loved it, and you could see them actually once they got a bit more comfortable kind of competing with each other and things like that. So it was a really good day.
Wonderful.
And I think in terms of a rail perspective, it's about the assessment of what skills you've got. So it's the opportunity for you to best present yourself. Have you got those transferable skills, and using those to the best of your ability in whatever situation is presented?
And I think, yeah, essentially it's the same. So just ensuring that that you're able to work in a team, that you can, I don't know, maybe lead a team, that you're good at communicating and getting yourself across. So just highlighting the skills and abilities that you have within you without realising, but you're constantly being assessed on that. So it's just to be aware of yourself.
Brilliant. And obviously during COVID, assessment centres went virtual. We all went virtual. It was a huge learning curve. Or obviously the assessment centre you're talking about, Lucy, that was clearly in person. Trying to give somebody instructions over a Teams call would have been quite difficult for that. But are your assessment centres back in person? Do you still do virtual assessment centres?
So ours are currently virtual at the moment, but that could change.
As a mix, and again, it's really role dependent on what they're looking for and what skills they really want you to promote. So it could be a mix. It could be either.
Yeah, and same for us. It is a mix. It will be role dependent. The ones that we do face to face is if we are looking to take on maybe a cohort. So you'd want those people, 6-10 people to get to know each other so that they can go through the journey together. But yeah, we do a lot of virtual stuff as well.
That's really great, and it goes back to how we were talking about how you really onboard your young people when they start to give them that support network and buddy system as well, if you like. We've had a really good question in actually on the remote working theme. So obviously the nature of many of the roles that you three offer have to be in person, but for the ones that aren't in-person roles, are you back in the office now, or is it still remote working?
It really depends on your role. If you're site-based, then definitely you would be on site. Myself, my role is hybrid, so I work in the office 1 day a week and I'm at home for the rest or in meetings. So it really depends on your role. It really depends if your role is customer facing, if it's it just depends on what your role is.
And in terms of the apprentices themselves, the trainees, are they in the office or out on site rather than remote working?
So again, so it really depends on their role. So if some of them are hybrid as well, so some do come in and some do work from home. But if you are site-based, then a lot of the times you probably would be more site-based, and you might have a day or two where you work from home.
And what about in rail?
Again, it's very much role dependent. If you're in a customer facing role, then you're going to be on site, so at the station or driving the train. We're not in the realm of driverless trains just yet, so you can't do that from your bedroom. But if you're in an office based position, so back office function type thing, the most common model at the moment across the sector is hybrid. So a balance of maybe 2 or 3 days in the office, 2 or 3 at home, depending on the employer.
Yep, and similar for the NHS, obviously the patient-facing roles, they will be on site, but I think, the majority of our models now is hybrid, so it'll be a mixture of kind of in the office, but also working from home.
And can your early careers choose to be in the office all the time if they wanted to?
I would say so. I think, that definitely was a challenge during the pandemic where we had young people starting and we didn't want them to feel isolated. But we had workarounds. We had kind of like an open Teams channel that they could drop into at any time if they wanted to ask a question. Because if you are new and learning, not being able to turn around and say, how can you show me how to do this, was a huge thing. So we did have to adapt. But we certainly think at the beginning of the career it would make much more sense for them to have that support and workforce around them.
I think it's a lot easier and less daunting for an apprentice to be able to turn to a colleague and ask, actually, how do I do that? Rather than think about how to word that in an email. It can be a little bit tricky sometimes. Loads of great questions. So on the degree apprenticeships now, so do you have an idea of the split to university to on the job during the degree apprenticeship with the NHS, but we can do this along the line as well. So what's the split of on the job and university days?
So again, it really varies depending on the role. Some of the degree apprenticeships you would kind of do block release up front, so you might do a term at university and then go into the workforce. Others you could be at university 1 day a week and in the office 4 days a week. So it really does depend on the role.
Yeah, it's similar across the rail sector. Again, it depends on the role and the level. There is a requirement for 20% off the job, regardless of whatever the role is through the apprenticeship programme. But again, that can be done through block release, or it can be 1 day a week, depending on the provider.
And I think with where it's very similar, it depends on the role and it depends on the degree that you're doing. But again, you can always find that information out on the website. It will definitely say on there. So it's probably best to check.
Excellent. Another question in about qualities that you look for. So specifically non-academic, and Lucy, I know you mentioned if you've been a captain on the rugby team or something like that, which we associate more with university, isn't it? But in terms of non-academic skills, is there particular ones that you look out for, or are there any short skills courses that you'd advise students to look up and find out more about?
So in the NHS, I think, it's really important that, you are caring and have compassion. We know that for some of the programmes you need to be highly academic, but that also you need to be a people person. It's no good, if you've got a doctor that can diagnose you but can't have a conversation. So I think the soft skills are really important, kind of time management, resilience, assertiveness, communication. So there's all those little short tips and courses that you can have a look at.
And it is difficult. I'm a great believer in practice. So practice on your family, friends, pets, whether it's a virtual interview, an in-person interview, it doesn't matter. It's all about just that initial introduction. Nerves get the better of every one of us, and employers expect to see that as well. And I think that's what's great about the assessment centres actually, because very often it can be an icebreaker, you bounce off other people in the room as well, and it's an opportunity for employers to see the real you coming out as well. So in terms of soft skills as well, it's really difficult to teach that.
Yeah, definitely. But I also think that for an interview, it should be a two-way process. It's the opportunity for the young person to find out whether the role is right for them. So do come with your list of questions. There's nothing more frustrating when you do an interview and then you say at the end, have you got any questions for us? And they haven't got any, because surely you want to know what's the culture like, you know, what's the out of work side like, little things like that. So just do your research and make sure you've got some questions as well.
What is the culture like?
Work hard, play hard.
Yeah, what's your culture like as well, Michelle?
It's a good one. There is a good social scene in the rail through the support groups and some of the networking groups that I've already alluded to. But just building on that soft skills point, that will be that getting involved in those types of groups will help you develop those soft skills. So some of the things that we look for in rail sector are problem-solving abilities, using your own initiative. Are you resilient? So, you know, keeping going if things don't go right first time. But yeah, the social scene is quite strong, I'd say.
I think the same for Waits. You mentioned we care. So one of our mission statements is the fact that we care about the work that we're doing. And again, as I mentioned before, that there's a lot of emphasis on sustainability, green jobs within Waits. So again, being passionate about those elements. And I think just going back to a little bit before what you said about the best advice for young people, it's just to be yourself. I think that's the best advice I've ever got given before in a job interview. And yeah, just being able to showcase who you are and what you're passionate about, I think is the best way to go forward.
I love that advice, and it just echoes what we've been saying all week as well. Definitely on that track. So the other question I had, before I move on to that other question actually, on the soft skills and employability skills, obviously your game plan on the platform that you're watching this from, they have a range of different videos that can help guide you through interviews, assessment centres, how to present yourself, and those videos are really short and snappy. It's a really great resource for you to go onto there to find out more. Moving on now, I know we're approaching our last 15 minutes here, so we've got another question in from Simon. What are the employers doing to upskill young people to be successful within the public sector? And is it different to upskill somebody to be successful in the public sector as opposed to private sector?
I wouldn't have thought so. I think in the NHS we do a lot of work on showing the career pathways, so you can come in at level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, and how you can progress. So obviously in the NHS retention's been a huge thing, and I think using the apprenticeships and people being able to do multi-ones as they progress their career has really helped us with that retention.
I think upskilling is really important, and showing those career progressions and the pathways through is important. And if it's not clear, then ask the question, show that initiative and ask that question. How can I move from this role here to that role there, and where I want to be, and how long will it take me to do that? And I think it's all about providing the opportunity. And that's what the rail sector is doing at the moment with the level of investment that's going on, the digitisation programmes that are happening. Have a look on the website for those that are near you. And there will be the opportunities for young people, and it's about supporting them to take those opportunities.
And I just want to tweak it slightly. So do you offer support if a young person starts an apprenticeship with you? Because you talk about the trade and the non-trade, but they want to switch because it's not for them. How easy is that, and how can you support that?
So in Waits, young people actually have the opportunity to try different parts of different functions of the business. So they have 6 weeks that they can try different functions. So sometimes we might have a young person start off in a particular area and they might think, oh no, it's not for me. But then when they go and try out a different function, they can think, oh, this is for me. So yeah, they definitely have an opportunity to try out different functions within the organisation and find what they're passionate about or where their skill set lie. And then yeah, they can progress to that area.
That is brilliant that they can rotate around different areas of the business, because again, we talked about the myths earlier of, oh, it's all about being on a construction site, and it's not at all. And I think, again, when you're only used to being in a classroom, how are you going to know what's going to excite you most and what's going to give you, you're going to be more passionate about? So certainly having a rotational scheme makes a lot of sense. So you just touched on sustainability as well, and obviously yesterday we heard from 4 employers about careers in environmental and sustainability, and we've had a question in about how sustainable is your company. So I'll start with Waits, I'll move down the line.
So Waits are very sustainable. I can give you an example. So if you've ever been in an aeroplane, if you go in an aeroplane and you go to use the toilet, there's no water in the toilet. So Waits, all of our offices have the same toilets that they have.
So it's like a dry flush thing.
Yeah. So
a vacuum.
Yeah, which is amazing. So that was quite fun when I first saw that. So yeah, they're very passionate about sustainability and helping the environment. They also have an agenda on zero carbon. I can't remember what year it ends, but yeah, there's also an emphasis on that. So there's a lot of stuff. When you walk around the organisation, you can see how important it is to the organisation. And we do, essentially.
Well, rail is already the lowest carbon emitting form of transport, but it also has the ambition to has a government target to remove diesel trains from the network by 2040. So there's exciting opportunities at the moment in the development of battery technology. So for those of you that are doing STEM subjects, there is the opportunity to get involved in how that can be developed, improving the longevity of those batteries in terms of getting more miles up and down the country to keep them going for longer, and how you can possibly use elements of the train to recharge the battery en route. So it's actually about making the trains more sustainable. And I have seen recently, I can't remember if it's a station in this country, but where they're using recycling the energy from people moving around stations to power the lights and things like that. I think that's in one of the new London stations, but there's certainly a thing overseas that will look to be developed in this country.
So we heard about that yesterday, actually. It's smart tarmac, was it something like that? Basically, the kinetic movement, or the movement has a slightly flexible surface, creates kinetic energy, puts that energy straight back in. Incredible. Just to point out, STEM is science, technology, engineering and maths related subjects. So at the NHS, it must be quite challenging because a lot of it is clinical waste as well, and it's discarded, but how sustainable?
No, it's definitely a hot topic in the NHS. There's a huge regeneration project going on in terms of kind of making the offices and the trusts more energy efficient, kind of the lighting, people don't have to turn the lights off, they're getting the sense of lighting now. But yeah, no, it's definitely a hot topic. We're doing a lot of green skills. There's a lot of new roles that are being developed and introduced around the apprenticeship route as well, which is all about sustainability. So yeah, it's definitely kind of a key focus for us. As the biggest employer, we need to make sure that we're making good progress around that.
Great, it's all good to hear. So, as in our last 5 minutes, what do you love most about working for the NHS?
It's really rewarding. During the pandemic, it was obviously really challenging times, but I still got to meet and recruit a lot of amazing apprentices that were really enjoying being able to give something back. So yeah, we're the biggest employer. We were open all throughout the pandemic. We're only going to grow. So I just love being part of that kind of caring environment.
And from a rail perspective, every day is different in terms of the work that I'm required to do, in terms of the challenges that exist on the railway. So if there's a signalling failure, for example, that has to be sorted and resolved quickly so we don't have trains in the wrong place. where we need them, and about making the passenger experience better so that you're more informed about why your trains are late, but it ultimately eradicating those problems to make sure the trains aren't late and you get to where you need to be on time. But I try and learn something new every day, and that's possible in the rail sector.
And from a weights perspective, what I enjoy about my role the most, I believe, is working with young people, helping them understand their career opportunities in the future. Also just seeing their faces light up when they see like a female working in construction, just letting them know that they can be whatever they want to be. And yeah, working for an amazing organisation that really puts its customers first, its people first. Yeah, I think I enjoy everything about my job, to be fair.
Smashing stereotypes. I love that. We've had somebody ask if you do school visits, and I know weights certainly do get involved in primary school, as you've mentioned, but do you do career school visits as well?
We do so much at Weights. I'll give you a quick little run through. So we do master classes where we go into schools. We offer CV advice, interview advice. We do career workshops in school. I did a career fair. Well, I've done a couple this week where we go into schools' career fairs and talk about the opportunities that we have in-house. We also do we work with a lot of organisations that do different projects. So we've got internship programs. We do the summer program where young people go to a university for 5 days. It's a residential, it's all paid for, and it gives them essential skills to learn how to teamwork, present. So we do so much different stuff. I think the best thing to do is probably go on the website or email in on the Work Experience website. And I think teachers or schools or students can all email in and just ask about the different opportunities we have locally and nationally, and we can definitely let you know.
And in terms of the rail industry, obviously, Routes into Rail is the early careers platform for NSAR, but as a group, as a collective, do you go in and do in-school presentations or careers fairs, or is it the partners that you work with that also do that?
Yeah, it's predominantly the partners that are involved in the rail sector. So many organisations will have a school outreach programme to go in and talk about the careers that are available, the opportunities that exist. Most of you will probably be sitting there thinking the only time I've ever seen someone come and talk about the railway is about don't go on the tracks before the summer holidays. But hopefully that's changing, and you're starting to see more people come in, and there are programmes like Interrail, primary engineer, secondary engineer programmes that are happening, hopefully in some of the schools that are on the session today.
And I'm going to tweak my question or completely change it actually, because we're almost to time. But why should somebody do an apprenticeship scheme? I mean, this is like the $1 million question, isn't it? What's your opinion? Why should somebody do an apprenticeship programme?
I think simply because it gives you the opportunity to earn while you learn. The traditional route might not be for everybody. We know that a lot of graduates are leaving university and are still unemployed, but with an apprenticeship, you've got that employment, you're earning a salary, and you're part of the valued workforce.
And Michelle?
I think it's the skills you pick up along the way, both interpersonal and intrapersonal, so person to person and for yourself. And I think the ability to learn how to use those in different situations is really key, and that's definitely noticeable from the apprentices that I've worked with.
I think I would say why not? And also essentially I think it gives young people, young people at a very young age have to kind of think of what they want to do or where they want to be in the future. And essentially with apprenticeship, you can try it and see if it's for you. And if it's not, you can try a different one. So I would say, why not?
Yep. And I will just finish there on saying it's totally up to you. Do your research, find out about the different apprenticeship programmes. If you're thinking about a degree, find out what degrees there are. There's potentially a sponsored degree within that programme as well. Be honest with yourself. Do you want to carry on studying in an institution for 3 to 4 years, or do you want that hybrid model, which a sponsored degree, for example, would bring to you? Maybe at 16 you're ready to learn on a job, and so starting a level 2 or 3 apprenticeship. or T-levels is going to be the best for you. I think the answer really, from my point of view, and especially over this last week, is there's no right or wrong answer as to why you should do an apprenticeship. It's a personal choice, and I think the brilliance about apprenticeships now is they are so vast and cover so many different entry levels that you're almost spoilt for choice in terms of where you can start your career. But remember, whether you're 16 or 18 or older when you start your apprenticeship, you don't need to do an apprenticeship or know what you want to do your end career in and find the apprenticeship for that. Most people, I'm in my 40s, still haven't figured out what they want to do as their end career. Nobody expects you to know for certain. And we've heard from some fabulous apprentices this week alone who have done various different programmes and training schemes and have taken their careers in completely different routes from when they first did an apprenticeship or a degree programme. So nobody expects you to have it all figured out at the age of 16 or 18, and apprenticeships offer you that flexibility to be able to learn and really understand what a job involves. So thank you so much for being part of our final panel this week of Industry Insights. It's been fabulous. I think the advice that you've offered is excellent. We have had so many questions today and we've got through so many of them as well. Apologies if we missed any off. Thank you very much for watching. You can watch this back on demand because I know there was lots of gems in there as well. It is available on demand on the page where you're viewing right now. Thank you so much for watching and good luck in your future career.